Bernie Sanders was on CNN the other day. He did a town hall with Anderson Cooper, and I found it very fascinating. Not some of the things that Bernie Sanders was saying. I'm a big fan of Bernie. The reason why I like Bernie is the reason why many of us like Bernie. He's been saying the same stuff over and over again. He doesn't take big corporate money. He takes grassroots, small dollar donations. He realizes that money in politics is the biggest issue that we're dealing with, the corruption of it all. And he's right now he's kicking ass and taking names with the Stop Oligarchy tour that he's doing. He's drawing in huge crowds of people, and I'm not just talking about pink-haired leftist, college students anymore. He's bringing in like regular old-fashioned liberal wine moms that are realizing that their Social Security and their Medicare is at risk. So now they're hitting the picket lines and they're going to the Bernie functions. And this is the problem that I've seen with left wingers, not left wingers, but liberals running in politics. The biggest issue I see is that they are trying to desperately trying to compromise with the right wingers. And the right wing has been slowly going further and further and further right. And instead of liberals, bringing up a real boogeyman to point at, because that's what the Republicans do. It's trans people and immigrants. Those are the biggest problems in the world. And once you solve that, everything in your life is going to be gravy. Now, of course, that's absolutely insane, and it's absolutely not true. They have absolutely no power to affect you. Bernie Sanders is like, no, it's the rich billionaire class. It's the oligarchs. It's the ones that are bribing our politicians. And of course it is. That's always been the problem. The problem with liberal Democrats is that they get a little taste too from their big money donors, and they don't want to stop. They don't want to have to go out there and work for a living and get people real policy that will affect change in their life and actually help them. They don't want to actually have to do that because that's a lot of work. And it's so much easier to reach out to a pharmaceutical person, a billionaire, or, a healthcare billionaire, or, in Republican case, it's a weapons manufacturer. But then again, weapons manufacturers, I'm sure, donate to some very centristy libs as well. And Bernie is finally, I think, maybe he was just a little too early in 2016, but he is actually hitting on what the real problems are. Money in politics is the root of all of this. It's corruption. It's pay to play. It is sending in lobbyists to lobby Congress or the president to get policy that they want so they will continue to make money. We have seen since the late 70s, productivity of the American worker is going straight up, but their pay is flatlined. It has not come up. And we have seen more and more wealth just vacuum sucked to the top 0.1%. And they're about to get a big new tax cut, from Donald Trump. He gave them one in 2017. He's going to give them one this year. I guarantee you. That's what the Doge thing is all about. They want to be able to say, hey, we cut so much from the government. That way we can give tax cuts to rich people. Well, they don't say rich people. They just say we're getting tax cuts. And I guarantee you're going to get a tax cut too. Yeah, you might get $200, $300 back in your refund. That's if everything goes really well and swimmingly for you. But with the cost of everything going up 25%, that $200-$300 ain't going to last you a week. So it's just a giveaway to rich people. And this time it's not $2 trillion. Now it's $4.5 trillion for the tax cut. So and look, we all saw it. You saw the inauguration. Everybody in his audience was a billionaire. Jeff Bezos, Jeff Zuckerberg, the dude from Google, Elon Musk, all of these ridiculously wealthy captains of industry are there to praise fealty to the Mad King. They spent millions of dollars to get him elected, well, probably billions. Elon Musk himself gave $270 million to get Donald Trump elected. That's just on the surface. Who else? I mean, who knows how much else he's spent? And Jeff Bezos and everybody, they all came there and he gave him money. Anyway, I digress. Bernie Sanders was on Anderson Cooper basically saying the same thing that he always says, and this is the reason why we like him. The problem is not immigrants. The problem is not trans people. The problem isn't the poors taking too much from the government. The problem is not government waste. The problem is billionaires don't pay taxes. And they're like, oh, you have no idea how much money I have to pay in taxes. Dude, you make all the money. No wonder you're paying the taxes. And you should be paying more. Personally, I think once you make $1 billion, you're cut off. You're done. Go move to the mountaintop with John fucking Galt and live out your libertarian fantasy out there and leave us the hell alone. You have one capitalism. But that's not how America works. And if you have $200 billion, what do you really want? You want $400 billion. It's like that dragon sickness laying on top of your pile of gold. And when money is not spent, and it is, what is that old expression? Money is like fertilizer. You collect it all in one big pile, it really starts to smell like shit. But if you spread it around, everything grows. I always liked that one. I thought that was pretty good. But watching Bernie talk to this audience, he's got them, he's saying the things that he always says, and everybody in the audience just going, yeah, Bernie, oh my God, yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. And Anderson Cooper, who, by the way, a Vanderbilt, so he's not hurting for cash, but Anderson Cooper is desperately trying to get, to change the conversation. He goes, well, I have some more questions here. And he's like, Anderson, I know you want to change the subject, but we're going to continue on this because this is really important. And he goes on not just to talk about money in politics and the undue free speech that they have and the lack of it that we have. Because no matter what we try, if we want health care for all, we want higher wages, we want the cost of goods to go down. It does not matter what we want because we do not donate money to politicians. So we don't get what we need. But rich people, they make a phone call to the president, boom, they pick it up. Because you donated $1 million or $2 or $10 million to a campaign, that phone call is going to get answered by Chuck Schumer. Nancy Pelosi is going to pick up that phone call. But if we say, hey, maybe you guys, raise the minimum wage, they don't give a shit about that. You say, hey, maybe you guys shouldn't be, doing, stock purchases, when you have inside information about what law is just about to be passed. They don't care about that. And that's one of the things that Bernie brought up, but I thought was really good for him to bring up, is that during this whole scheme with the tariffs in Donald Trump, it is looking more and more like this was just a basic pump and dump. Donald Trump wrecks the economy. He sets a date that he's going to wreck the economy. I'm going to do Liberation Day on April 2nd. So all of the people with the big, huge dollars, they're immediately starting to sell off stuff. They're getting rid of their stock, they're selling it off, and the market starts to tank because they know what's coming. And then the tariff day happens, and then the stock market plummets. And then, a week later, Donald Trump is, he puts out a tweet, which, by the way, I cannot believe that our economy is dependent on whether or not Donald Trump, bleats on Truth Social or not. I cannot believe we're here. But anyway, but he sends out a tweet on Truth Social saying, it's a good time to buy. It's a good time to buy. And a lot of people did. And then 4 hours later, he changes his mind. People bought the dip. The stock market goes up. And then all of a sudden, Billionaires made 200 or 300 billion dollars in one day. You know, he has Charles Schwab right there in the Oval Office saying, this guy right here made $2 billion. It's amazing. People are really happy with what I'm doing with the economy. No, man. No, we are not happy. We're absolutely not happy. The only people that are happy are rich guys in the know that know what you are about to do. You know, there was, before he even made that tweet, there was a lot of purchasing going on in the market. And then he made the tweet, and then there was a bigger buy into the market. And then he pulls back and he says, I'm going to put a 90-day pause on all of the reciprocal tariffs. And then the market flies to the roof, and a handful of people made a shit load of money. They are doing that ridiculous pump and dump thing that, I mean, hell, 2 days before Donald Trump was inaugurated, he did a meme coin crypto scam on his own goddamn people where he walked away with a couple of $1 billion. And I don't know what's in the mind of the people that buy into what Donald Trump's selling, whether it's, you know, Make America Great hats, you know, his tennis shoes, his ridiculously overpriced cheap ass watches, or just the meme coin. But these people are losing their livelihoods because they have bought in to this cult-like mentality. And, I mean, America right now is kind of starved for somebody who will actually say the things that mean representation for us. You know, so when Bernie is doing this town hall and the entire audience is nodding their head in agreement, and I go to a protest and I see not just blue-haired leftist college kids, but regular bog standard liberal Democrats out there wearing Luigi Mangione hats, you know, and, you know, saying signs that, you know, Elon is a felon and, you know, it's a fascist regime. This is the kind of stuff that I was saying back during the first term, that everybody's like, you're a little over, you're going a little over the top calling him a fascist. Now everybody's calling him a fascist because it's obvious what he's doing. You know, we're being run by a mad king, run by Twitter fiat or Truth Social fiat. He's gutting the social safety net. He's making the rich even richer. He's promising huge tax cuts for them. He is tanking the world economy and our economy. He's raising the price of all goods. I can't think of one good thing the man's done. I mean, he has successfully, in the less than 3 months, overturned 100 years worth of American good economic policy. Some of it's been bad, but I mean, everything that the New Deal did back in the 30s and 40s, that's just all been, you know, trashed. It's all gone. We don't believe in that anymore. And honestly, that was when America was at its actual economic greatness. When the tax structure was 90%. Now, of course, that everybody loses their mind about, you know, how the tax structure actually works, but the top marginal tax rate was 90%. Doesn't mean they was taking all 90% of their money. It was saying that once you got over that certain, whatever that was, I think it was like $450,000 a year, which in today's money is around $3 million a year. Every dollar over $3 million, that got taxed at 90%. But at that particular time, from the late 40s to the early 60s, America economics was booming. You know, we were the only country that didn't get bombed in World War II. We became the indispensable nation. People bought our treasury bonds. America was fully employed, kicking ass, taking names, and you were able to raise an entire family on one paycheck. And now everybody's got 2-3 jobs and they still can't make ends meet. So when I see Bernie out there doing the things that he's doing, and I see the huge crowds that he's pulling in, I'm really encouraged. And, you know, in these dark times, you got to find encouragement wherever you can. So keep it up, Bernie. And AOC, got to give her a shout out for being on this tour with him. good on you, AOC. Can't have any more of these liberals, let's compromise with fascists, because you cannot compromise with fascism. You get half fascism, and then eventually you just get full fascism.